So this is the 13:30 hours GMT edition of the Khoodeelaar television channel, broadcasting on the internet under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo editions. This is Thursday, the 16th of February 2023. And one of the things that we are going to do is to start commenting on the latest outrage being felt in the whole country about the behavior of the Lancashire Constabulary, Lancashire in England. The police behavior is being the main subject of the backlash against the police, blaming Nicola Bulley for her disappearance. We shall be talking about that quite a bit. So the behavior of the Lancashire police, so far as I can recall, is absolutely unprecedented in this way. I mean, everything they have done in making public statements about Nicola, everything they have done, everything that is in the context of the so-called search. I mean, it is no longer kind of describable as a search by the police. It seems that the Lancashire Constabulary, that is the police, if you look at the actual series of statements they've made, it shows that the pattern emerges clearly, a clear pattern emerges of the police looking for anything but a safe and sound Nicola. They've been looking for anything like an excuse, a pretext, something to put the blame on her. And as we heard in the short audio played from the independent.co.uk website just now, it was not a domestic situation. It was not anything to do with whatever the suspicions might have been. It was a mental health issue. According to this expert, this is the latest that we can kind of relate to in terms of accessibility. So a person who was in mental health situation has been being blamed for all kinds of other things. How is that? How is that consistent with the universally objective definition of policing? And all the things that the police have said, I mean, they have been adamant They have been adamant for too long, for weeks, that Nicola fell into the river or she went into the sea or something. And the police failed or chose to not look at the forensic evidence, and they didn't cordon off the crucial space, physical space, that would have preserved the forensic evidence. So they left it open, exposed to any number of people walking over the land on the space, thus distorting or destroying crucial forensic evidence. This is the police behaving. It's not some kind of rogue element, some kind of speculator from somewhere else or some other agency. It's the police behaving in that way. And former police from various police organizations, retired police, and specialist investigators with experience of investigating similar situations, not identical but similar situations of missing person, a person being not found. All of them have expressed concern about the behavior of Lancaster police. It is clear on the evidence that Lancashire police are behaving without any regulation, any accountability as to where they are going and how seriously they are persistent blaming of Nicola, how it is impacting on her safety wherever she is, where she has been. If a person who is at high risk, according to their phrase, is then subjected at the same time, subjected to the kind of accusations, which is what it is, that Nicola has been, then that makes her safety 1,000 times worse. Her risk becomes 1,000 times worse. What is going on? What is happening to the police? The idea of policing? So we'll come back to the bully police's irresponsibility and a very serious series of irresponsible things. We shall go and look at the piece by Martha Gill, published yesterday, that is Wednesday, in the London Evening Standard. Now, Martha Gill is not daughter of the Sunday Times food writer called A. Gill. This is a different Martha Gill. And her piece in the Evening Standard yesterday, I'll find it, about Shamima Begum. Well, the Evening Standard of Wednesday, the 15th of February, leads with the resignation of Nicola Sturgeon. And there are pieces about we shall come to Nicola Sturgeon in due course. So the Martha Gill's piece, in the Standard says Shamima Begum was brainwashed. She doesn't owe us regret or remorse. Now, this heading, as I have said, this is the first time that any outlet in so-called Fleet Street or mainstream British media has used this formulation. First of all, that she was brainwashed, which is fact, absolutely brainwashed. What is grooming? That is brainwashed. And then the logical, she doesn't owe us regret or remorse. That is absolutely consistent with that premise. Premise is a logical statement, construction. And then Martha Gill says, where would Shamima Begum be now? Now, this is something that is about the Anthony Lloyd interview. I think the Anthony Lloyd, the Times, allegedly found her. And what she's saying, what Martha Gill is saying is that this introduction before we go to the actual reference to Anthony Lloyd. What Martha Gill is saying in that piece, or in this piece, is that tactically, strategically, Shamima Begum made a significant error when she spoke to Anthony Lloyd. Because Anthony Lloyd is connected with the Times, and despite the fact that the Times newspaper in London is owned and controlled by Rupert Murdoch, who is described as the dirty digger by Private Eye. Despite the fact that all of that, the Times newspaper, because of the general state of brainwashing the public goes through every day, is considered as a reliable source. Because of that, and also because of the fact that until she spoke to this Times journalist, Anthony Lloyd, Shamima Begum had not been the subject of any report in the Western media as far as these items are concerned. She had been only mentioned as one of the 3 girls that were reported in February 2015 as having crossed from Turkey into Syria. That was not a report based on any conversation with them at all. So the first significant sort of report based on contact, however the contact was made and however the communication, the exchanges between Anthony Lloyd and Shamima Begum was conducted, that we have not had details of, but however that was done, that Anthony Lloyd piece Well, the first such report about Shamima Begum as an individual speaking or giving any opinion about anything. And what Martha Gill is saying is that because Shamima Begum made some observations, those have stuck. Now, what Martha Gill is implying, therefore, and what I think logically would be implied, is that when Shamima Begum spoke, whatever her age was in 2019, she wasn't thinking about long term impact, the ramifications of that statement and that being circulated. And what has happened, according to Martha Gill, is that that has stuck and she is now unable to withdraw what she said and unable to create an image that is not the image that is based on the Anthony Lloyd interview. That's what. So let's read Martha Gill's paragraph. We still can't stop revisiting the Begum story. The BBC, I'm Not a Monster, follows ITB's Shamima Begum, the blame game, and the Times says, Bring Me Home podcast. Yet, no matter how much attention Begum attracts, no matter how much we, that is the public, learn or cry to understand, try to understand her, the damage she did to herself in her interview with Anthony Lloyd, the journalist who found her in Syria, seems to have stuck. That is exactly what has happened. Begum is not now in a de radicalization program. Back in the UK, like many others who joined terrorist groups, instead she has been stripped of her citizenship. Among them, jihadi brides. Sorry, let's read that again. Instead, she has been stripped of her citizenship. Britain can legally strip dual national terrorists of their citizenship, among them jihadi brides. Begum is not a complete outlier, yet in her case, the decision was made for undeniably political reasons. The case is still going through the courts now. Before I go any further, Martha Gill is wrong not to clarify that Shamima Begum is not a dual citizen. That has to be clarified. And she doesn't clarify that. She doesn't understand that her own interpretation, which is correct, of Shamima Begum's interview with Anthony Lloyd would warrant her having to clarify that fact that Shamima Begum is not a dual citizen. as the evidence as the evidence of the behavior of the massively brainwashed morons that parade themselves as political leaders, most of them contained and carried in the so-called government, fronted by Sheikh Hasina in Bangladesh. The announcement by stupid Javid, when he was in post as the UK's Interior Minister, otherwise known as the Home Secretary, when he said that he was taking away Shamima Begum's British by birth citizenship, there were simultaneously various other reports that Shamima Begum could be sent to Bangladesh because she is of Bangladeshi parentage. And immediately, within literally seconds of that hitting Bangladesh, if you like, Sheikh Hasina issued a totally mentally slavish, stupid, idiotic, ignorant, corrupt, and servile statement that denounced Shamima Begum and disowned her. First of all, Sheikh Hasina constitutionally had no right to comment on Shamima Begum whatsoever, because she had not, Sheikh Hasina or her corrupt and criminal regime had not made any statement ever since she got in power in so-called election 2009 about the welfare, well-being of Bangladeshi nationals, either in the UK or anywhere else. Now, most of the brainwashed morons that are operated for the benefit of Sheikh Hasina in the UK, in the propaganda and spying that take place, spying in plural, that take place by Bangladeshi origin individuals, operatives, against other Bangladeshis in the UK. And most of those spies that spy on other Bangladeshis, all of whom are absolutely 100% not connected with any party politics in Bangladesh, let alone being aligned with any remotely negative behavior. Those morons, although they spy for Sheikh Hasina, they themselves do not have any right to condemn Shamima Begum. Why? Because those criminals, and they are criminals in condemning Shamima Begum, while they have no locus. Those morons are themselves not Bangladeshi citizens. Those criminals renounced their Bangladeshi citizenship themselves, and they became naturalized British citizens. So they are interfering at various levels, contrary to international law, contrary to the known English law, if you like, British law. So what happened immediately after the stupid Javed took away Shamima Begum's British by birth citizenship? There were all kinds of reports saying that Shamima Begum would be sent to Bangladesh. And this Sheikh Hasina's sickness called a minister issued a statement according to reports, and we are only going by the reports accessible at the time and since online, that if Shamima Begum were to be landed in Bangladesh or be sent to Bangladesh, she would be hanged. How the fuck? Based on what, you fucking morons? For a start, Shamima had never been to Bangladesh, and Bangladesh was not her country of birth. And there is no evidence that she ever wanted anything to do with Bangladesh. So, this piece in the evening, No Standard, yesterday, that is Wednesday, the 15th of February 2023, by Martha Gill. This piece has got several aspects to it that need clarifying. I've just done the clarification about Bangladesh itself. And she gets this sentence absolutely spot on. Martha Gill does, that is, Begum has essentially an image problem. In her first interview, she failed to express remorse. In I'm Not a Monster, Lloyd explains, well, it's not. I'll have to come to that, whether it is Lloyd or it's somebody else. But for the time being, let's move on to the quotation that Martha Gill is ascribing to Lloyd. What she says is not what people might have thought. My God, I made a terrible decision. Get me out of here. It is, get me out of here, but I have no regrets. And then she espoused essentially Islamic State ideology in a really unattractive way. That is Martha Gill still quoting somebody. And then Martha Gill goes on to the next paragraph. Even worse, in a Sky News interview, she had the wrong expression on her face. Teenage ingratitude, entitlement, irritation, and said exactly the wrong thing. I think this is supposed to be a quotation from Shamima Begum. I haven't seen the Sky News item. I think a lot of people should have sympathy towards me for everything I have been through, she told the reporter. And later says, in a bored manner, I just want forgiveness, really, from the UK. And then the next paragraph, Martha Gill's piece, anger immediately boiled over. Begum became one of the most hated people in the UK. Sympathy? Question mark. Forgiveness? Question mark. The newspapers reacted with revulsion. No, Begum did not deserve sympathy or forgiveness. For her presumptive requests alone, she should get a harshest possible punishment. The next Martha Gill paragraph, the media reaction was the backdrop to then Home Secretary Sajid Javid's rapid decision. Now, see the sequence she's drawing, and that is an absolutely correct sequence. And what I have to say is that, quite apart from any of this, quite apart from any of this and any connection that Jabid later established between him and Shamima Begum in terms of the action, the then newly appointed cabinet secretary, stupid Jabid, was moaning, he was complaining that, and this is a stupid word, left. There is no fucking left in this country, fucking cunt. The left was accusing him of being an Uncle Tom. Well, what he was meaning was that people who were consciously against racism and racist mental slavery saw him for what he was and condemned him for his role. And that was, again, nothing to do with Shamima Begum at that stage. Now, that was before 4th of May of the year, 2017, I think. And I gave a speech at the very spot where I had spoken in May 1978. I had spoken in May 1978 in what is now the Altavali Park on a spot where I was interviewed by Janet Street Porter, who was presenting the program on London Weekend Television in those days in May 1978, called the London Weekend Show. So in 2017, on the 4th of May, every year on the 4th of May, I had been observing, marking the murder of Altavali by racists. And on this occasion, I spoke on the same spot and I addressed stupid Jabi directly in that speech. And I said to stupid Jabid that he was wrong to moan about being called an Uncle Tom. And I said the simplest way to get rid of any such tendency or propensity on the part of his critics, anti-racists essentially, was for Jabid to stop being an Uncle Tom. Stop behaving as an mental slave to the racists in the British government, racists in the media. So what I did on that occasion, on the 4th of May 2017, at the Altavali Park, was to denounce stupid Javid and to denounce the Armless Council and the others, but my focus was on stupid Javid. Now, look at the sequence of events, and we shall see how stupid Javid behaved So Martha Gill's piece, let's check Martha Gill's speech and the timing of the point she makes about Sajid removing. This is where we go back to this piece and the paragraph where she says, even worse, in a Sky News interview, Shamima Begum had the wrong expression on her face: teenage ingratitude, entitlement, irritation, and said exactly the wrong thing. And then, where I was talking about the fact that Martha Gill should have made it clear that Shamima Begum was never a dual citizen. Well, she does say that she was not officially a dual citizen. Well, she was not officially a dual citizen. She was not factually a dual citizen either. So, Begum would not be brought home as she wished. Instead, her citizenship would be revoked. That was a decision that teetered on the edge of violating international law. It didn't teeter, it did violate the international law. So Martha Gill is wrong there as well. And then she says Begum was not officially a dual citizen. It might have made her stateless. A subsequent legal decision was made that Begum was a citizen of Bangladesh by descent. Now, there is no such thing, but let's see what she is saying by way of explanation. Setting a basis for children of immigrants to be stripped of their citizenship more easily. Now, Martha Gill doesn't go any further into that part. She moves on to the interview she gave on Sky News. This was the price for Begum coming across in the wrong way on television. She was left in a refugee camp with the newborn who died of lung infection. She is still asking to come home now. But it is still just too politically difficult. That is Martha Gill's observation. Yes, Begum joined ISIS. She does not deserve to be granted exception from the laws that deal with such people. But there is much in Begum's story to suggest that she does not deserve one of the UK's very harshest treatments. She was recruited at the age of 15. Now, we need to really factually elaborate on that word or the concept, the term recruitment or recruit, and the age of 15. And she agreed to marry her jihadi husband. We now know within 10 minutes of meeting him. We'll come back to that 10 minutes as well. Other than running away to Syria, there is no evidence that she committed any crime. She was a housewife, she says, and took care of her children. Two of them died before the conditions in the refugee camp took the life of the third. Now, I have said at least 100 times, if not more, that stupid Jabid and the rubber stamp Supreme Court and the racist media, they have not and they cannot cite one single item of crime that Shamima Begum has committed. And this is the first time anyone riding on a platform in Fleet Street, let's say, evening, no standards, despite the fact that Evening Standard is not really a daily newspaper. It's a kind of perversion owned by the two beards, and we shall come to the two beards later. I have said that by objective definition of English law, criminal law, Shamima Begum has not committed a crime. Now, I have said it is nothing to do with Martha Gill. Whatever she says about anything, whether she says she was not kind of particularly bothered about sight, allegedly, sight of beheaded individual. This was again in the narrative that Martha Gill is promoting there. She was talking without any real preparation, I would say, in my view. Not Martha Gill is not saying that, but I would say that whenever, even now at age 23, Shamima Begum is too inexperienced and too ill skilled, ill schooled, and ill informed to be allowed to make a seriously informed comment about such matters as terrorism, international law, human rights, citizenship, and all those things. So here is, I'll go back to Martha Gill again, and here she is. Yes, Begum is not likable, but likability, I would suggest, is not the best basis for international law. Well, it seems that Martha Gill has studied quite a few of the other people's comments, including the television review by Hugo Rifkind. There is something in our attitude to Begum. Now, this our, I'll examine that one as well. Who does she include in our, and who does she not include in our? There is something in our attitude to Begum that smacks of immaturity. Well, I've just said that Shamima Begum herself is immature. It is essentially emotional. We cannot seem to grasp that someone brainwashed as a teenager by ISIS might actually act like a teenager brainwashed by ISIS. Absolutely spot on, Martha. And that someone who spent her later teenage years as a housewife to a jihadi amid terrible violence might seem a bit hardened to it all and not quite grasp, that is, we may not quite grasp all the finer points of media presentation. Well, she may not. And absolutely correct. Those who want Begum left in a detention camp in Syria say we shouldn't make an exception for her. But we already are. Her fate has become political. That is to say, emotional. Essentially, Begum must court us or charm us if she wants any hope of international law treating her case dispassionately. Will the public achieve this purpose? That remains to be seen now. We shall come back to all of that. That piece, as I said, in the context of Fleet Street, this Martha Gill piece in one piece is exceptionally better than any of the other pieces, including the pieces written by and attributed to Joshua Baker. I shall come back to Martha Gill again in due course, not necessarily in this edition, but in due course. Now, going back to the 10-minute meeting with the jihadi, she has not, I mean, Martha Gill has not discussed that, but it is absolutely worth discussing and diagnosing. What happened at that meeting? It is 10 minutes or 12 minutes. Let's say it's an average, say 11 minutes. Even if it's 11 hours, even if it is 11 days, that would be too short a period in which a child, 15-year-old, should be expected to make an opinion, a judgment about getting married. Secondly, marriage, by definition, is a platform for safety. Marriage is not, never has been, anything to do with exposing the individual getting married to violence, to war, to terrorist dominated environment. So, who the fuck decided to give this fucking jihadi cunt, rapist from Holland, any platform to say that he married Shamima, who agreed to marry him after these 10 or 12 minutes meeting? Who thought that that should be quoted without any condemnation, any discussion? So we shall be absolutely going into these because all the evidence that has been published, all the meanings of words and phrases confirm that Shamima Begum was a victim of rape, serial rapes. And this criminal from Holland serially raped her. And he should be prosecuted for rape. And we shall go into all the aspects of the brainwashing, serial rapes, and the involvement of the spies, the Canadian spies, and the conferring, the consultation with the British spies, all of those. And of course, Martha, like the rest of the Fleet Street outlets, does not mention. She does not even mention the existence of the local council, the Hrs Council, let alone the safeguarding the children duties. Now, as I said yesterday, when we checked the website of Hrs Council, we found several entries in the search results about safeguarding. But we didn't find anything whatsoever in connection with the safeguarding children duties. And there is absolutely no mention in Hrs Council's portal, internet portal, website of Shamima Begum. Now, this is so completely outrageously brazen, two fingers shown to the law, to domestic law, by the criminals in place in Hrs Council. That all the criminals, including Lutfur Rahman, need to be tried for that brazen criminality. So we shall come back to all of those again and again in due course. Let's check again on the lies by the police in Lancashire about Nicola. So there are two things. One is that this idiot has been arrested for YouTube publishing the claim that he had been in people's back gardens at night time. Fuck him. And there is, of course, emotional thing, plea from her family saying that we want you home. And we are praying. This program is praying for Nicola. And there is contradictory piece by GB News repeating the police lie that Nicola might be in the river. So this is the Press Association copy, timed at 1:34 p.m. about Nicola. We shall be talking about the ongoing commentary about Nicola and also about the fact that the police watchdog, so called, is not apparently investigating the behavior of Lancashire Police Constabulary in relation to Nicola Bully. Well, I'm noting the appearance of one of the most remarkable young Scottish politician, Mary Black, Compared to the average SNP MPs and politicians in Scotland, she is intelligent and she has got a lot of courage. And I think she will feature in future political discussions quite a bit. She is appearing because of the resignation announcement by Nicola Sturgeon, leader of the SNP, and the so-called First Minister. Now, going back to Shamima Begum and Martha Gill, as I said, Martha Gill's piece we shall discuss further. And we go back to Pakistan and see what Imran Khan is saying today. There is a joke piece at Imran Khan's expense by Pakistan Interior Minister 9 hours ago. He says he will resign if Imran Khan doesn't test positive for cocaine and ice. Pakistan's Interior Minister Rana Sanaullah Khan has declared he would resign from the post if ousted Prime Minister and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf leader. Let's read the bit. Ousted Prime Minister Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chief Imran Khan's blood test doesn't reveal cocaine abuse. Vowing to get the former Prime Minister arrested for dragging Pakistan to the precipice of financial default and ruin, Sanaullah Khan alleged that Imran Khan was addicted to cocaine and ice, the latter being a reference to crystal meth. Daring Imran Khan to undergo a blood test, he said, "If cocaine doesn't come out, I will resign." Imran Khan has tried everything possible to make Pakistan default. Shaukat Tareen, former finance minister, tried to make Pakistan default on Imran's instructions. This is not the first time that Imran Khan has been accused of drug abuse. His ex-wife Reham Khan's bombshell book in 2018 had alleged that she caught the PTI chief snorting cocaine in their bathroom. The typical day's cocktail would generally consist of half an ecstasy tablet and one or two lumps of coke, followed by 2 to 3 sedatives at night. It wasn't until the last month that he started hiding the dispenser in his jacket pockets. It appeared that Imran was doing about 6 grams a night, the book had claimed. Imran Khan is currently embroiled in cases linked to protests outside the Election Commission, alleged illegal funding and corruption. The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf leadership had last year asked party workers to stage protests across the country, including near the Election Commission of Pakistan, after Imran Khan was disqualified over hiding details of party funding. In October, that is 2022, I think, the police launched a case under the anti-terrorism laws, and the former premier was on interim bail in the case. Earlier this week, a Pakistani anti-terrorism court rejected Khan's bail for failing to attend the court hearing of the case. Now, as I said yesterday, and as I have said before, Imran Khan needs to get his legal knowledge and legal behavior or the behavior connected with the law sorted. So what we shall be doing is putting an end to this particular edition at 14:33 hours GMT. The video of the broadcast length is 1 hour, nearly 4 minutes. We shall continue on all the topics in due course.